Well, good morning, everyone. I appreciate you all coming today. It's, let's see, May 28th. It's a little after 9:30, and this is the Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission, and I'm calling our meeting to order. I guess the first order of business is to recognize our attendees today, and to my far left is Peter Bradford, Commissioner from Vermont. Next is Bob Wilson. Next is Linda Morris. To my right is Clint Weber and Judge Dolgener and Dick Sodick from Vermont. And I'm John Salzman. By my count, that's 7, so I think we have a quorum. Let's see. Do we have any elected officials in the audience today?
Other than the judge.
Well, other than the judge, but he's already been recognized. How about any members of the press? No? All right. Then next on our agenda is public comment. And in keeping with our new sort of process for knowing who's going to make public comments, I have 2, and the first one was Lon Burnham. Am I reading that right?
Yes. That's the way I read it. Anyway.
Good morning, Chairman, members
Morning.
of the Commission. I'm Lon Burnham. I'm from Fort Worth, and I'm here representing Public Citizen today as a volunteer. And I mainly want to express my concerns about the new rules. Frankly, the rules look like they're designed to minimize and restrict public comment by volunteer public citizens in the process. And I realize you probably adopted these last time around, and I'm just now getting around to reading them, but I want to express particular displeasure with item number 2, general procedures, wherein you're required to submit this before the beginning of the meeting. I don't know of any other public body that does that. I'm sure there's some that do, but clearly it's designed for people not being able to be here on time for one reason or another, not be able to have the opportunity for input. I'm also particularly concerned that you restrict the opportunity for public citizens to ask individual commissioners in public about various aspects of the decision-making process and the rules and the procedures. I could go on, but it's kind of like blowing in the wind, so I won't. I will just end with saying I would like to know the chairman's personal and financial relationship with the DeLisi's and all other lobbyists that are registered for or with WCS, and I want to ask that on the record and in front of everybody. Don't really expect a response now, but it'd be nice to have one eventually. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Just for clarity, I don't believe we have adopted that document. Am I wrong?
It's,
We have not.
it's the chair's policy, it's the chair's prerogative as to organize the meeting, so in that sense, they've been adopted, but they're not set in stone, of course.
Well, they were proposed at the last session,
That's correct, the chairman laid them out.
and not discussed. He then invited comments for the next session, which is this one.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Peter and I are talking because in these kinds of matters, Vermont tends to be a free-for-all, and we're used to having dialogues between individual commissioners and, the public citizens and so on. And my recollection of the meeting in which this came up was that the chair indicated that he would that he would be very flexible in that. And I think that I guess Representative Burnham wasn't at that, may not have been at that meeting, but at any rate, he was pretty explicit that he said, you know, if this, I want to control the calendar, but if this comes up, in some sort of dialogue between commissioners and the public, I would expect that it would take place.
The chairman has been very clear about that, and he was very clear at the meeting where these were laid out. So there is a lot of flexibility built into the draft, so that the chair has a lot of discretion, which he already had prior to this meeting.
I think, you know, our concern in this has to do with more with our jurisdiction and with comments that go beyond what we can really do, and that would more properly be addressed to the TCEQ or some other agency. And we don't want to be put in a position of having to get into an argument or a dialogue over something that it just isn't in our power to influence. And that may have been one of the concerns behind this.
Any further discussion concerning public comment? All right, I have one more request, but this individual has indicated they'd like to speak on item 7, so we'll wait till we get to that item. Any other public comment? All right. Seeing no one, we'll move on to item 5 of the agenda, which is consideration of and possible action on the request for amendment to an agreement for importation of low-level radioactive waste. This is 5A, it's Ecology Services Incorporated. And Ms. Morris.
Excuse me, I apologize for my voice. It's a little raspy. I think I was talking 7 hours to my students yesterday. But at any rate, we have 3 actions today, possible actions. The Technical Review Committee has reviewed all 3. There's 1 amendment and 2 new application requests. The first is an amendment request from Ecology Services, Inc. to simply change the date for the agreement. This is Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission Agreement 1-0086-01. They are currently approved to send 75 cubic feet and consisting of 20 curies, including some carbon-14, technetium-99, and a tiny bit of iodine-129. But that's not changing. All they're changing is a date request. The reason for the proposal, the reason that they've requested this date change was because of unforeseen scheduling delays associated with removal of seal sources from the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. No other changes to the import agreement are being requested. It's the recommendation of the Technical Review Committee that the Commission approve this request.
And what is the requested date change?
Yes, the date will be changed to September 1st, 2015 through August 31st, 2016.
All right, anything further from the technical committee? On that item?
No.
Any questions by the commissioners on the request?
Just one question. I assume that the existing agreement is already in place, and we're not changing the date of that. We're just extending the termination date of it, or are we doing a new agreement? What are we doing?
Actually, we are revising the agreement that is in place. However, we are changing, in this case, the date, the requested dates to be September 1, 2015 through August 31, 2016.
I guess the reason for my question is they don't anticipate any shipments before September 1st, 2015.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
And I believe that was based on a communication between the commission staff and the applicant.
Thanks. That sometimes these things are staggered.
Any further questions about the amendment request? All right, Linda, are you ready to make a motion?
I move that this amendment request from Ecology Services, amendment excuse me, don't get the right number again, 1-0086-01, be amended to reflect a new operational fiscal year date, September 1st, 2015 through August 31st, 2016, for their current agreement. So,
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions from commissioners? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same signal. All right, I believe the record should reflect unanimous. And before we move on to item 6, I am remiss, and I need to recognize some other people that are here today. To my right is Jim Krausen, our able Attorney General. To my left is Lee Ying, our Executive Director. What's that?
Thanks for the promotion.
And I believe in the audience is Audrey Farrell, our Administrative Assistant, and these meetings wouldn't happen without those people, so.
I'd like the record to reflect that Brooks Landgraf's Chief of Staff was here. Michael Lozano. He left, but he was here
All right.
for the record.
All right, moving on through our agenda to item 6, consideration of and possible action on the following applications for proposed agreements for importation of low-level radioactive waste. And item 6A is American Airlines. Linda?
I believe we have someone from American Airlines here, Dave Smith. Dave, would you like to come up? In case we have any questions. American Airlines has submitted an application to import radioactive waste into our compact. The current number is 1-0088-00. Essentially, what American Airlines wants to do is bring in about 100 cubic feet with about 2,500 curies total radioactivity. Import that quantity. The date had originally been through 2017, I believe, but we have agreed, is that not correct, Mr. Smith, that this would be the September 15th of 2015 through August 31st of 2016?
That is correct.
Okay. And essentially, the radioactive material that American Airlines wishes to import is tritium, hydrogen-3, with a half-life of 12 years. And they're in the form pretty much of exit signs, plus some other items, labels. Do you have any other comments? You want to
That's
describe?
correct. Yes.
Okay. There have it's my understanding that this is in Oklahoma, correct?
Yes.
So the Oklahoma is a part of the Central Compact, which does require export permits, and you guys are in the process of obtaining export permit from the Central Compact.
Yes, that's correct. We've applied for the export permit, so we should have that shortly.
Okay. So what we are requesting, what you are requesting then for us to approve, let's see. So the commission, that you guys do not have any other way, any other option to dispose of these materials. So, and you've requested an amendment date with 2017, but we'll switch that to September 1st of 2015 through August 31st of 2017. 16. Thank you, John. And, okay, so does anybody else have any questions while Mr. Smith is up here?
I do. So just give me a picture of how this, that this waste source gets consolidated in Oklahoma. This is all the exit signs that American Airlines has, and they somehow come together in Oklahoma for this disposal?
Yes, and we have a maintenance and engineering center there in Tulsa, and these devices are removed after they're tested, and they've had their life luminescence is expended. So we remove those devices during scheduled maintenance.
Other airlines, as far as you know, do the same thing?
I'm sure they do. We've not really discussed this particular item with any other airlines.
We have Dick?
This is really aimed at Lee. Would this be the first import permit that we granted before another commission had passed off on it? I mean, do we do this regularly? Grant them when they've made an application for one, but haven't received it? Permission from there?
We do that regularly. We put a condition in the agreement that that they cannot act on the agreement. They can't ship until they
I
give us.
understand that's what we're planning to do. Somehow, that one went past me, that okay, but this is something that we don't require it as a prerequisite then. Just require that they've asked for one.
That's correct.
Ultimately, they have to do it. They must get the permission from the other entity before they ship.
Yeah, before they ship.
Right.
But, okay. I'm kind of trying to understand the distinction between that and another
I
application.
think,
that
as I
is
recall, this has happened perhaps once or twice with the central compact, and it's happened probably 3 or 4 times at least with the southwestern compact.
Thank you.
Other questions concerning?
Let me ask a question. And my understanding is that this process began several years ago when you realized you had these things in Tulsa and you needed a place to take them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have you made any previous shipments to the Texas Compact Commission since that discussion several years ago?
Well, we had an approval for import the last time, and that's been the last time
Right.
that we've shipped.
Yeah.
And then it takes quite a while to
Right.
accumulate these devices. So.
Right. There is some background that I'd be glad to provide. Mr. Smith can provide too, associated with the history of this kind of thing. It's something I happen to know about because it has to do with the federal airworthiness regulations that they have to comply with for licensing their aircraft, and these signs have to be a part of that. And so they just have to get rid of them, and they're tritium devices. And for strange reasons, I just happen to know about all that. So, but I'm certainly in favor of it, so I'll be quiet. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you for coming. A lot of
Thank
times we approve these things, not having a person that, if there was a question by the commission. Anyway, I appreciate you coming.
Oh, thank you.
And also it should be noted that the TCEQ has certified the waste contained in this application is authorized for disposal under the website, the compact facilities license, so.
Any further questions by the commissioners?
My question would just be so the tritium that's inside the signs, I mean, obviously that is what it is. Do you know, are the newer airplanes still using that same type of thing for their signs or any kind of illumination? And, in other words, will this be a kind of recurring waste that we may see from American Airlines or other airlines in the future?
There are new technologies that are replacing these signs. Much of these signs are coming from our aging fleet of other aircraft. The newer aircraft have used a different technology, so it'll be some time, but over the years we should see a dwindling of this particular item.
Thanks.
Okay, I move that the commission approve the import application for American Airlines, number 1-0088-00, for the disposal of tritium, 100 cubic feet of tritium, and incorporating 2,500 curies of tritium for disposal at our compact waste facility. The active date of the application will be from September 1st, 2015 through August 31st of 2016.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Linda, could you clarify that what class of waste is it?
Yes. This is John's papers, yeah. It's, yes, it is Class B waste, stable Class B waste, encapsulated gas ampules, vials of tritium.
All right, thank you. So again, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions by commissioners before we vote? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, let the record reflect unanimous approval. All right, next item on our agenda is 6B, which is an proposed import agreement from RAM Services. And I'll note that we have a request for someone to speak on this issue, Ms. Karen Haddon.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Karen Haddon. I'm here on behalf of SEED Coalition, Sustainable Energy and Economic Development Coalition. And I have a few concerns to address regarding this item as well as others. They're of a broader nature. One is an ongoing concern about water at the site, water showing up in the test wells. And I urge your thorough investigation of that issue. And that you get TCEQ to give you reports that include the percentage of wells that are saturated on a monthly or on a basis of whenever your meetings are. And I also have concerns about the TRU waste that's at the site. I believe it was April that they started putting that into the ground onto the site, and it was supposed to remain for only a year, and then it was supposed to go somewhere. I haven't heard anything about any change. I believe the waste is still there, and that is waste that is exceedingly dangerous. We know that many of the barrels there at the WCS site are of the same kind that exploded at the WIP site. The WIP site was half a mile underground, and then the radioactivity actually came out from the site, and we know that at least it was tracked 26 miles away, plutonium and americium. So we don't need that kind of accident happening at the WCS site. It must be prevented. I have asked for the emergency plan, and it has not yet been provided to me by TCEQ. I've gotten a verbal version of it that I found to be very inadequate. So I urge you to ask, what is that plan, and when will that waste leave? Because at the WCS site, I've been told that this waste is at the bottom of the federal facility with some pea gravel on top. That is not the same as half a mile underground. And as this and other proposals move forward for more waste to go to the site, I think that should be taken into consideration. I'm also concerned about the fact that the RECRA site, the hazardous waste site that has over 2,000 toxic and corrosive chemicals, is now accepting some radioactive waste, and I question whether that is, number one, a good and safe idea. I don't think that it is. And number two, I think you should look into the legality of that, whether that should continue. You have overall concerns about the site from your perspective as you approve or disapprove these allocations. These things should be taken into consideration. To add to that is our most recent concern about WCS trying to bring high-level radioactive waste to the site, announcing that they will go for a permit, and recently trying to get funding through the Appropriations Act for a pilot project, and I don't think you've been asked to weigh in on that or had any say. This takes things into a whole new realm. I mean, this site was put forward as a low-level radioactive waste site. High-level waste is a whole nother ballpark. I don't think the site was designed for it. I don't think environmental impact statements have calculated this in. And there certainly has not been 10 years of solid science, which is what the scientists recommend before we go with any future disposal site. And, you know, even though this is talked about right now as temporary storage, it stands a good chance of becoming a de facto permanent site. We've already had waste that was stored previously that did not leave in a timely manner, and in fact TCEQ later let them bury that waste with no penalties. This time around we've got the TRU waste sitting there past its deadline. I mean, we've got a track record already. So I encourage you to take a big, broad picture because your approvals are playing into a bigger picture and your name and responsibility go with that. So whether it's publicly or whether it's in meetings that you have privately, I urge you to raise these concerns and to be very firm about them. The safety of a lot of people is at risk here. Thank you.
Thank you for comments. I would note for the record that this commission has no authority for TRU waste or high-level waste or RICA waste. So those issues are outside the boundary of our authority and jurisdiction. All right, item 6B, RAM Services import agreement, proposed import agreement. Linda?
The Technical Review Committee has reviewed the application of RAM Services Incorporated for an import permit. It would be 1-0089-00. The RAM Services is a broker, licensed waste processor and collector. They are authorized to dispose of the compact waste facility is authorized to dispose of the waste they would be sending, which is all Class A, B, and C stable sealed sources. The application is requesting a proposed volume of 100 cubic feet with a total of 200 curies of radioactivity, 200 millicuries of C14, 10,000 microcuries of technetium-99, and 100,000 nanocuries of iodine-129, and 10,000 microcuries of depleted uranium. The applicant has, we should note, has no unreported, no unresolved violations, nor have we received any comments from any regulatory agencies regarding RAM services. The applicant has indicated that the waste will be coming from all states, including Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., but excluding the states that are members of the Northwest and Rocky Mountain Compacts. The requested states include Southwestern Compact and Central Compact, which do require export authorizations. The applicant has not yet provided those, nor generator authorizations. It's understood that this, our approval would be contingent upon RAM Services providing those authorizations and export permits from the appropriate compact. The date that the import agreement would be effective September 1st, 2015 through August 31st of 2016.
Linda, did they receive approval from TCEQ?
Yes,
for the
TCEQ has sent a letter saying that the waste is certified and can be disposed of at the compact waste facility.
All right, and is the technical committee recommending approval of this?
Yes, John, the technical committee is, thank you. This is his job. Yes, the technical review committee is requesting that the commission approve this request.
All right, any questions for Linda with regard to this application?
Okay, so this is for A, B, and C waste. It's from all states except a couple of states where they're asking permission, or they say they're going to ask permission and get permission to.
Actually, I think it's from all states, including Puerto Rico and D.C., with the exception of the Rocky Mountain Compact and Northwest Compact, and they are not requesting permission for those states.
Okay, but they're requesting permission from some other compacts. Right?
Southwestern and the Central
You
Compact.
haven't got that yet.
Correct.
I'm sorry, but my memory's a little different from everybody else's, apparently. I mean, I seem to remember that we have not approved, at least from time to time, we have not approved applications when they don't have their permission. But maybe I'm completely wrong about that.
I recall on probably at least half a dozen occasions where we've approved that with conditions in the import agreement that the applicant is not able to ship any materials till they provide the generator authorizations and indications that they have export authorization from the compacts that require it. So we have done that probably at least half a dozen times in the past.
It seems like a broader approval than most of the applications. I mean, all three classes, all the states, or almost all the states, and so on. But, I guess I don't have any specific reason to oppose it. But,
Is it one of
this is
the
way we
issues
do
that was brought up when this came up before, I believe it was brought up when Philotechnics was here, was the issue that they don't, one of the reasons that, particularly in the case of brokers, that they will ask for an agreement in advance of having generator authorizations and the export authorizations.
Yeah, because they have to go to their customers and have
Yes.
the thing.
And they don't want to take a source they don't ultimately have a home for. Those,
I understand that.
Dick, any other questions or from any other commissioners on this for the technical committee?
No.
All right, Linda, I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay. I move that the commission approve the import application request for RAM Services Incorporated 1-0089-00 for the importation of Class A, B, and C stable sealed sources, 100 cubic feet radioactivity, 200 curies total, 200 millicuries carbon-14, 10,000 microcuries technetium-99, 100,000 nanocuries of iodine-129, 10,000 microcuries depleted uranium. The date of the import agreement will be effective from September 1st, 2015 through August 31st of 2016. This approval would be conditional based upon the receipt of the appropriate generator authorizations and export permits from the appropriate compacts.
And Linda, could you state in your motion the waste classes and the waste form?
Yes, I thought I did, but yes, it would be Class A, B, and C stable seal sources.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Peter seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other further questions or comments from the commission? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the approval of the RAM Services Import Agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, let the record reflect a unanimous approval. And I believe that finishes item 6. We are moving through the agenda rapidly. We are now on to item 7, and I believe we have a request for comment on item 7.
Betsy Madru, WCS. Be glad to answer any questions. Can report to you disposal numbers fiscal year to date. We've disposed of 20,538 cubic feet, 32,108 curies. Of that, 1,849 cubic feet and 806 curies are compact waste. I can, do you got them, the numbers?
What
You want me to say them one more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Betsy, what percentage of the,
You want me to do math? Oh, well, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
what percentage of your capacity in those various categories is it? It's a very low percentage, I believe. And I'm asking about your present capacity, the 2.3 million feet, not the potentially expanded capacity.
Okay, so our present capacity, our present licensed capacity is 9 million cubic feet.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what you built. That's 2.3, right?
We've built phase 1 out of the original 2.3 license.
Okay, so you don't have, all right, I guess I misunderstood. You don't have 2.3 built yet?
No,
Okay, what do you have? What capacity do you have, do you know?
I don't know.
How do you calculate, when somebody asks, what percentage of your capacity do you have in cubic feet?
You want to know what's built out. Is that what you're asking me?
Now, I wanna know what, I just wanna know.
No. I want to answer it. I really do. I want to answer it. I just want to make sure that I'm clear about what you're asking. So right now, physically, we have built out phase 1 of our original license, which was 2.83 million cubic feet. Our license now allows for 9 million cubic feet. We still haven't built out another phase yet. We haven't needed to. It doesn't make sense to build out the entire facility until there's waste coming in to fund that build out.
I understand that.
Okay.
But my impression is that you have still a very small fraction of what's in place now, what you have built out so far.
Yes.
The numbers that you just recited represent a relatively small fraction of even that space.
So the numbers I recited are fiscal year to date. I think the number you're asking about is capacity, sort of lifetime. We're looking at less than 9% right now.
Yeah, I think if we reference tab 11, and I did a little bit of math, and thanks for getting back to me.
Sure. Yes, sir.
If you take a look at total capacity, cubic feet, WCS has accepted 74,261 cubic feet to date. Now, that's the cubic footage of what they have accepted. When they put that all into a bunch of concrete casks and other things that they need to put it into in order to put it down into the ground, we have some information from Ms. Madru from about 3 weeks ago where essentially you multiply that by about 4 is what you do. So if you multiply that number by 4, you have 297,044 cubic feet that have probably correctly been estimated as taken. If you put that over the top of 9 million, we're at 3.3% capacity. If you take 9 million and divide it by roughly 4, you're still underneath 10% capacity. So to answer your question,
yeah, okay.
you do not have a capacity issue right now. Now, one of the things that we could do, and we probably should do, we could talk about doing, is take a look at the rate at which we're accepting annually, now that we've started to do it for a couple of years. And then we can just take a look at that rate and that glide slope and make sure that we are keeping track of that total and complete capacity. And I think that's something that we can do pretty easily as we move forward. If you want to talk about curies, we've accepted 188,787 curies over a total license capacity of 3,890,000, which puts us at 4.856% capacity total licensed. So to the extent that we have not used up much of the space, I think that is true. To the extent that we know what the rate of usage is, I don't think we know it yet, but I think we can get to it pretty quickly. And it's something that we need to keep track of, but I don't see it as being a problem right now.
And to the number the percent that you calculated for curies was 4.8%?
That's correct.
4.86 approximately.
For total licensed, and I would imagine that, I don't know how that works with what's built out now. We could probably reduce that by a factor based off of what's built out. I don't know that the built out would matter as much with Curies.
No, it
Shouldn't affect
won't,
yeah.
it won't matter at all.
And the build-out's going to be larger than obviously the amount of space you need for, or the amount of volume you're looking at. Because of what you said, Commissioner, about having to actually encapsulate it and put it into the ground. There needs to be space allocated for that.
So, and that's an important point, because that 3.3% includes multiplying
Right.
that by 4.
Right.
So if you were to divide that by 4, I mean, which you wouldn't want to do, but anyway, you're down to obviously
Very
around 1.5%.
small percentage.
Which is what you asked me about last time, which is, so when you talk about 9 million cubic feet, that's disposal waste, not actually how big the facility is. It's going to obviously be bigger than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Betsy, is it also true that for the Curies received to date, that those continue to decay, and you all regularly report the as-received number for Curies, but also the as-decayed number?
Yes, sir. We report that number to you in both ways.
Okay.
But I think, thanks for getting us all this information, by the
Sure.
way. And we'll probably continue to ask. I think it's important that we kind of look to build that glide slope out and maybe talk about that at each one of the meetings. But I think it's also important that this kind of relates to the point that was brought up before about a concern for maybe pre-approving, whether it be volume or Curies. The reason that we do that, that we know that there's a real viable reason that we do that. And it may be important that we continue to do that. There may be some disagreements on that. But ultimately, it comes down to volume, right? We want to know and keep track of how much stuff that we've got. And I think if we can kind of take a look at this rate and keep track of that, then it will be easier for us to do some of these conditional approvals and keep track of them, especially as we get more full. When you start getting up around 70, 80, 90%, I think that you're probably going to see some people that are a lot less likely to approve conditionally things that may exist out over a number of years or things of that nature. So that's the only point or comment that I would make on that. And I think it's important that we continue to take a look at the capacity. So thanks for your help.
Sure, you bet. And any additional information you're looking for or need, please just ask. We're happy to get it to you.
Are there any additional questions, Bob?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bedrud.
Yes, sir.
The numbers you gave us for overall disposal volume
Yes.
of roughly 75,000 cubic feet, that's for this fiscal year.
No, sir, that's total. This fiscal year to date, 20,000.
20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the total volume that we've got in the site, and it's not just this fiscal year.
Correct. Commissioner Weber read you the total number. I read you just fiscal year to date numbers.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was curious about, because I saw some of the information and I was uncertain whether it was fiscal year basis or total basis. And
Yes,
that's
we
what
are
I-
right now in a transition. We used to report some different information to you. Now we're reporting, some more expansive information to you. And so the numbers that I gave you were just fiscal year to date, and then I broke them up between total and then in compact. I know that you all want to know what percentage is coming from Vermont and Texas. Right. Yes, sir. Yep.
Lee, I'm sorry, go right ahead, please.
Has the rate decreased, the volume? Has it gone down as you've been going along?
I don't have that impression.
Well,
You mean, are we accepting less than?
in the last fiscal year, out of a total of 74,000, was it 2013 when the thing went on, or 2012?
April 2012, so 3 years now.
This is our third operational year, and the second operational year was a longer period. It was
Correct.
So it's
It was-
18 months or something like
On
that.
Right.
average, it's been pretty constant then. If you averaged it out, it would be about 20 plus or minus.
Probably closer to about 25,000, maybe a little bit less per year in terms of volume.
So I think there's probably two things that we'll need to take a look at overall as we continue to go down this road. The first one is what we approve, right? So what is authorized to come in? And then the second one would be what actually comes in. And does it come in on that timeline? And I don't know that we need to do it monthly or quarterly, but probably annually, something that just kind of gives us a rate that you're talking to. And I don't think we can develop that right now, but I bet you probably by the next meeting, we could probably have some type of an annual rate. Wouldn't tell us much after 2 years, but it would be something worth starting, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that what, Vice Chairman Salzman's saying is you have to remember when the commission started, y'all started on an operational year, and then you made the transition into a fiscal year. And so since we're only 3 years in and the years are sort of varied, the data is going to be a little bit skewed until we get a little bit more of a fiscal year data, base under our belts. But we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think we can. I think normalizing the data won't be a problem. I think we can and should do it, but that's really to answer to your question, Commissioner. I think we can do that.
It's probably also worth noting that the numbers that have been reported included the in-compact waste, which isn't tremendous, but it is adding to the overall volume. So if we decide to sort of do a little more analysis on this, perhaps we would look at in-compact versus out-of-compact and make sure that the in-compact isn't changing that rate dramatically, especially as we approve.
Gets around to decommissioning Vermont Yankee, that'll.
The in-compact will go up.
That's right. Other questions for Ms. Madru? Bob?
Who keeps track of the calculation of decayed curies? We know how you keep track of what is shipped and what is disposed of.
Like
But
the actual person at WCS?
no, I'm talking about institutionally. Is that done by WCS and reported to TCEQ? Does TCEQ also carry out a calculation? How does that work?
I can't speak to what TCQ does and does not do, but I can tell you that WCS definitely keeps track of it. If you want to get into the actual technicalities of it, that's why Sherry's here. But yeah, we absolutely do keep track of it. We keep track of what comes in, at what rate it's disposed, and then we know, as the different isotopes decay, we keep track of that.
And the reason for my question is that I understand that this is not a simple calculation. It's fairly complex.
Way over my pay grade.
Yeah, and I'm just curious about the protocol that's used to develop the as disposed of, followed by current curies in place numbers.
Sure.
And I don't know how that's done.
I don't either. Why don't I put together some information and send it to you and to Lita to distribute to the other commissioners, and be happy to give you some background information on how we make those calculations.
I'd love to have
You
that.
betcha.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I've got one more question. I'm sorry for beating a dead horse on this thing, but I guess one point to make, so just maybe to alleviate some confusion and get it out there on the record. In the past, we have required, and I think I'm pretty sure it's basically due to state law that this be reported on either a calendar year or fiscal year basis, because that's what the state legislature, they've provided limits to us on what we can do annually.
Those are based on a fiscal year.
Right, so those are fiscal year deals. So I don't want anybody to be confused about what we're talking about with overall capacity. With you're reporting what we've asked you to report based off what the state law says we can put in annually, and then we've asked for an additional report, which gives us more of a good idea about how far downrange we're tracking, because the original report that we're getting really didn't necessarily tell us that. So
So the original report that you got, let's call it the monthly report, is usually what it comes in under. That report is required by statute, and it's required that we provide it to you quarterly. We provide that to you monthly.
Right.
And now we've added a second report, which I call the capacity report, which is based specifically on your and my conversations. And I think this is now maybe our second or third month we provided that to you. But the monthly report is technically the quarterly report that the statute requires. We just provide it to you more frequently than the statute requires us to.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense to me. And then to my question to some of the individuals that have been around here a little bit longer, what was the basis that the state legislature used when they set their limits? Do we have any idea on that?
Bob?
Is it all right?
Can you speak to that issue, Bob?
Probably a whole round number, something like 10 or 20, something like that?
You would have to talk to the legislators who came up with that issue. I don't think the Compact Commission was involved in those discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions for Ms. Madru? Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. All right. We'll move on to item 8, which is discussion and possible action to authorize the chair to execute a contract not to exceed $25,000 for accounting services for the commission in replacement of the Board of Nursing from August 1, 2015 through August 31, 2016. And I will just add a little information on this item, and that is, we were informed, I believe, several months ago by the Board of Nursing that they would not be able to continue to perform accounting services for the commission. And so, being a good commission, we said, well, we better figure out something else. And I believe through considerable effort, we've been able to come to obtain potential services from a firm to provide those services, and they would start, I guess in this case, August 1 of 2015, rather than at the end of the fiscal year. Lee, did you have anything to add on that item? No? Are there any questions on this?
No, what does that mean? I mean, as a practical matter, for us, what does it mean?
It means you will no longer get reimbursed for your travel. No, it means that we're entering into, or we wish to enter into an agreement with a service, with an entity that would provide those services so that you would continue to get reimbursed for your travel as well as all the other commissioners. So, and obviously it's more than just travel. It's all our accounting so that we can stay in the good graces with auditors and things like that.
Who did you say is gonna do that?
I believe we're going to be told about that.
Well, we have a firm identified, but we have not yet entered into a contract, but we,
I think this is the ability for us to
That's correct.
enter into a contract before we do that.
Is this another state agency or?
it is not. I doubt that we'll ever find another state agency that is willing to do this for us free. So this is a person who has the appropriate expertise.
But they want to be paid. So, Bob?
I'm just curious about the scope of services that are going to be included, and I assume that that's something to be described in the contract that we haven't negotiated yet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know, and this is just a hypothetical question, I assume that it will cover at least all of the services that the Board of Nursing has been providing for us?
Yes, sir.
I'll stop there. I don't want to ask more questions when I don't know the answers to them.
All right, I think I'm ready for a motion from someone on this issue.
Okay, I move that, that the commission authorize the chair to execute a contract not to exceed $25,000 for accounting services for the Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission to replace the Board of Nursing. The effective dates would be August 1st, 2015 through August 31st of 2016.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, I believe that was the judge.
Was the judge.
All right. Do we have any, we have a motion and a second, but do we have any other questions or comments from commissioners before we vote?
I'll say I do have questions, but I'll reserve them. I assume that we'll be furnished a copy of the contract for our review, so we know what we're dealing with at the time it's negotiated.
I think
And
that,
I trust the chairman and Mr. Krausen to make sure that we're fully covered for the services that are going to be provided. So
Thanks for the vote of confidence. Sir.
you know how I feel.
Yes.
all right, any further comments or questions? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Let the record reflect unanimous approval. All right, moving right along, item 9 on the agenda is discussion and possible action to authorize the chair to execute a contract not to exceed $25,000 for an auditor to conduct annual audits for 2013 and 2014 as required by the compact. I think this is something that we've already done some audits for previous years, but we still need to continue to conduct them so that we stay in the good graces of what the
I'll take this
compact.
one on. The compact requires us to do an annual audit in the compact terms itself, and there are other types of audits that are sometimes conducted on us. The comptroller has a right to audit us, of course, because we're getting state funds, but this is the audit that we've done. We have done at least one of these in the past, and we have a current one that's due, and then another one that will be due for the current fiscal year. And so I'm certainly recommending that we authorize the entry of a contract not to exceed $25,000 for an auditor for the 2 years involved. I will report I do have a number in mind for what we were charged for the initial audit that turned out to be inadequate because of the work that was done, and so we had to bump it up a little bit, and so this is certainly in line for these 2 years with what we've previously authorized to conduct for the audits. So if there are no more questions, I would certainly move that we authorize the chair to execute a contract not to exceed $25,000 for an auditor to conduct annual audits for 2013 and 2014, and I'll certainly authorize that. I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners on this item?
My understanding is that that there are candidates in mind, but we have not yet selected an actual auditor to do this. The discussions are ongoing, and that doesn't surprise me because that's been the history
That's correct.
of this. And
It's a complicated kind of an audit.
it's a complicated type of audit, given that we are a political subdivision being financed through appropriations of the legislature, and that's a little bit outside of. I mean, we're not a political subdivision, we're compact, and it's a little bit of a strange creature and with interesting overtones, and that's why the audit tends to be a little bit more complicated.
That's an unusual way to put it, Bob.
But it's accurate.
It is accurate, that's the truth. Any other comments or questions by the commissioner before we vote? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, let the record reflect a unanimous approval. All right, item 10, the chairman's report. Well, the chairman's not here, but I'll make a short report. First of all, let me express Brandon Hurley, our chairman, was unable to be with us today. Sort of a last-minute issue kept him away. I believe it has to do with being in court, and so he apologizes for not being here and feels certain that he will make our next meeting. I wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow we have a stakeholder meeting scheduled at the DoubleTree at 9:30 in the Blue Bonnet Room, and this is to get stakeholder input on our proposed rules, which have been published in the Texas Register, I believe, some time ago. So I would encourage everyone that would like to provide comment that you please take that opportunity. I believe that the website indicates the location and date of the meeting, and it's been up for probably a month. And then I think we also did some sort of a email send out to people who've indicated they're interested in the things that this commission does. So again, encourage participation. I believe we also have some additional meetings that are regarding low-level radioactive waste, but I will let Ms. Ng discuss those perhaps in her report. And I think I'll call an end to my report. So
I assume that everybody knows that tomorrow's meeting, there will not be a quorum of the commission present.
I believe that is correct. I intend to be there. I believe Ms. Morris will be there, and Dick, you'll be there, and Clint as well. So there'll be 4. So I believe. Are we okay with that?
Yes, we're okay, and if more than that come, we would simply have to turn them away. And Bob and I have had experience with that in the past. So.
All right.
I guess my question was, why wasn't it posted where the whole commission could be there? If they wanted to be.
So I mean to take that?
I cannot answer that question, but Ms. Ing has volunteered.
I know there's a rules committee and all that.
The reason that that happened, we had a miscommunication with the Secretary of State. We made an attempt to do that, and our good attorney wrote it up and everything. And Audrey's going to talk with the Secretary of State to find out why this notice for this meeting didn't get noticed as the other ones did. The request was the same that we always send, why this one didn't go. And the idea behind it was so that all of y'all could go if you wanted to. But Audrey's got to call out to find out why this one didn't go to the same place all of our other meetings go to. And so once we find out, we can let you know.
Sounds like a technical glitch. All right, moving on to item 11, report from Ms. Ing, our consulting executive director.
I don't have much to say, as usual. I will let you know that the standard operating procedure that y'all requested that we have done has been completed. Audrey and I are going through a review of it. As y'all may recall, this is the procedures manual that we had done, so if something happens and somebody has to pick up a notebook and keep things running, they can pick this notebook up and go. When we get that done, we can send it to all of y'all electronically. It's not riveting, but it's necessary. And hopefully y'all will never have to seriously use it, but if you do, the idea is that everything that we do to make a meeting happen, to make those committee meetings happen, how amendments are processed after the meeting happens, agreements would be in there and somebody could follow it. The one thing I'll notice in going through this process is it is a living document. For instance, when these rules are finalized that commission is working on, some of our procedures will almost certainly change, and the operating manual would need to change. So after we go through it, we will get a copy to all of you. If you have trouble sleeping, I would recommend picking it up. But but one thing we will need to contemplate is keeping the living document current. So I wanted to let you know that effort was underway and has been completed, and we'll get that out to you. Also, with regard to the auditing contracts that you just made a motion for the chairman to be able to enter into, we will work expeditiously to get those done and completed, potentially by August of this year. The reason that we're going to try and get those audits done, first of all, they're required by the compact, and it's important for us to comply. But the second reason is on August 31st is the last year of our year. Any money that's not spent goes back to the state of Texas. So it would behoove us to spend that money before August 31st. And then that gives us a little more leeway in September the following year, where we'll have a little more money to pay for things like an accountant to reimburse you for travel. So we will be working expeditiously to get those auditing contracts and completed as part of our fiscal responsibility. The vice chairman gave me the opportunity to mention to you a couple of meetings up and coming. We have the Rad Waste Monitor meeting that a number of us have historically attended that y'all may want to attend. It's September 8th through 11th, I believe, in Summerlin, Nevada, which is outside of Las Vegas. And it frequently has a pretty broad scope of attendees associated with radioactive waste, as opposed to the radiation industry at large. NRC is always there, NNSA. A number of folks show up and present, as well as different contractors and state entities, compacts, et cetera, and that can be a really good meeting to attend. The second meeting that's off on the horizon is the Low-Level Waste Forum meeting, which is in Chicago, October 22nd and 23rd, and that is a group that's more centered around compact activity than other activity, which could be a good meeting for commissioners to attend. It's in the budget for all of y'all to go to them, so please feel free if you think it's something you'd like to do.
Now, if we were going to have more than 4 commissioners attend any one of these meetings, then we would have to notice and things like that, correct?
I'll let Jim answer that.
Yes, we would. We would post.
We could
Yes,
post
we
it.
would post a cautionary.
So don't take that as a me saying don't go. It's just if you're planning on attending, please let Lee know, and so that we can get the count of who all's going, and we can make sure that we comply with state law, which is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Lee,
And
anything
that concludes
else?
my report.
Any questions or for Lee? All right. The next item on our agenda, item 12, is discussion of dates and locations for our future commission meetings. And Lee, would you just go over what is scheduled right now, and then we can talk about them individually?
Certainly. The next meeting that we have scheduled is Thursday, July 9th. And then the next one is Thursday, August 20th, and then Thursday, October 1st, and then Thursday, November 12th, Thursday, January 14th.
Right, after
You wanna do
August, go through them again?
After August, we have Thursday, October 1st.
Oh,
In Vermont. If y'all want to, they're behind tab.
that's right, sorry, my mistake.
They're after tab 15, if you want to take a look at them. And then we have Thursday, January 14th, February 25th, April 17th, and May 19th, all on Thursday. The next one, July 9th, is in Austin. We may want to talk a little bit about the next three, because the Thursday, July 9th one is in Austin, but we may have an issue with our Vermont commissioners attending. The one is the Thursday, August 20th is in Andrews. We might want the judge to give us an update on how that one's going. And then October 1st, that Thursday, is in Vermont, and we don't yet have a city in Vermont selected for us by Commissioner Saudick and Commissioner Bradford. So it might, and as you know, for us to set a Vermont meeting, it's good for us to start
In
getting-
advance.
Yes, in advance. So it might be good to focus a little bit on those first three meetings.
Well, let's talk for a minute about July 9th. My understanding, Dick and Peter, is that's a problem for you all, and we're not certain whether Ms. Sanders can attend as well.
Yeah, Mr. Sanders has other commitments generally these days. She's a little harder to get a hold of. But,
Lesser
yeah,
commitments, but
neither Peter
more
nor I can
frequent.
make it, that's the problem. And
No,
we haven't been able to get a hold of her to see whether she can.
That,
And it has been the commission's practice, I'll say, that we really want our Vermont commissioners' participation, and I'm not certain that we've ever actually held a meeting without Vermont representation, have we?
We had one when we had to move it for the ice storm.
Oh, yeah.
But we
That's
took
right.
off, but we checked with them about what we had on the agenda. We took the rules off.
Right.
Also, the rules would potentially go for adoption on July 9th, another matter that we wouldn't want to move ahead
Right.
on without.
Judge, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
I'm leaving at 7 o'clock on the 10th on vacation, so.
July 10th?
I mean, I could be, I'm like anybody to be, well, you said.
Is it the preference of the commissioners to try to come up with a different date in July? Or another option would be that we cancel the July meeting and go to an August meeting? Is there a,
I think my feeling is that it kind of depends if there are things that really need our attention. And do you see things coming in that need our attention in July at this point, or can we go till August without it?
I vote for August.
Lee, can you
I-
see any, can you use your crystal ball and look out on the horizon for us?
I'll use, yeah, my crystal ball is always really fuzzy on this, but I'll say what I have to say, and then I'll defer to WCS because they frequently have a better sense. But so far, all that we have coming in is a item from Bionomics. And what we will get between now and what we would have deemed received on June 1st, I don't know yet, because a lot of times those don't come in until midnight, May 31st. And whatever's deemed June 1st would be on the July 9th agenda. And then we could get amendments or exports that would come in by the end, any time in June. That could be on that agenda. And that varies, as y'all have seen enough on the agendas, that can vary. To the extent that WCS has a sense of what might be coming in. Oh, and there's the issue of exports too. Okay, please. Okay.
Ms. Madru?
Betsy Madru, WCS. I think that to not have a meeting between today and August 20th is a little bit problematic for us just because it's so close to the end of the fiscal year. So, we would like to see a July meeting in early to mid-July if possible, if there was a way to work that around, because, as Lee said about what's coming in at the end of this month, that would be eligible, for a July meeting. So 2.5 months at the end of the fiscal year certainly is problematic for us.
That's helpful to know. We appreciate that.
Commissioners, Richard Adams on behalf of Luminant Generation, the owners of Comanche Peak. Our existing export authority ends at the end of August. We are tentatively planning to file a new export petition probably around June 10th. I hate to wait till the last minute on something like that, so we had hoped to get that on the agenda at a July meeting. So our preference would be that there be a July meeting, so we don't wait until the last minute for an August meeting. I can't speak for the South Texas project or Vermont Yankee, but normally we file export permit applications at around the same time.
I believe that's been the practice.
Yes, sir, it has. So to the extent that the commission can work out a July meeting, that would be our preference.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that input. And we have some more input.
My name is Eddie Selig, and I represent ARDT, and the other members of the ARDT are South Texas Project and Vermont Yankee, and they also plan on submitting an export petition at the July 9th meeting because their export permits also expire at the end of August. So it'd be helpful if we had a meeting in July.
All right. So I'm hearing input that July meeting would be preferable. How do my fellow commissioners look at the week, either the week of July 13th or the week of July 20th? How do your schedules look? You'll-
Either of those are fine.
I'm sorry, Judge, for even the week of the 20th? Okay.
I'm okay the week of the 13th, except I'd prefer it earlier in the week than we usually go. Rather than Thursday, we can do Wednesday.
That's impossible for me to make Wednesday, unfortunately.
And the following week is okay with me.
Peter, how about the week of the 20th for you?
It's fine for me, but I gather those are all bad for the judge. Is it possible to pull the August meeting back in time?
How about the week of July 27th? Judge, are you back?
Can you do it, Peter, on that week? Because I can't.
You can or can't?
I cannot.
You cannot.
But apparently Peter can.
Okay. Judge, how does that look for you?
There'd be only 3 weeks between
24th by
meetings.
law, so
I'm sorry?
I'm gonna say that we're probably gonna have budget hearings sometime pretty quick. I don't know.
But, so you could tentatively make the week of the 27th?
Not the 27th, maybe the rest of it.
Well, how about the 30th? July 30th? That's our typical Thursday meeting date.
This says it has some civil and juvenile dockets, I just have to look at it.
Okay. Lee, what I'm going to ask you to do is your usual wonderful job, and so, Dick, the week of July 13, you need it to be earlier, and I can't do earlier, so it looks like that week is out, although could do it without me. Linda did a wonderful job today.
No, the Health Physics Society meeting's that week.
Oh, so you have the same problem I do. All right. So I think we're going to have to look at the week of the 20th or the week of the 27th and get as many attendees as we can. So perhaps we can very quickly determine who can make it and who can't, and we'll come up with the best date we can. I apologize for not being able to give the audience a date today, but we want to maximize commissioner attendance at these meetings, and we'll do our best to get that date established as soon as possible.
And let me just ask, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, is it fair to say that depending on the outcome of that, our August 20th meeting may not happen or may move, or not? Will we have that?
That was my impression, is that we might, if we move this back in July, there might not be a need to have the August meeting. And because the next meeting after that is scheduled October 1, I realize that something's going to have to give. But I think
Okay.
it sounds like a July meeting is pretty important, and so I think let's put the priority on that, and some other meetings may have to move. Judge, if we did go ahead and hold that meeting August the 20th, are you still, is it still good for Andrews County? The tourism is ready for us? All right. And then October 1 for Vermont, our Vermont commissioner still feeling like they want company?
Yeah, on October 1 at 2:30 in the afternoon will be peak foliage.
Okay, perfect.
Do we
Still
have,
be in a meeting at that time.
has there been any discussion, Peter and Dick, about potential city?
We're gravitating toward Montpelier.
Yeah,
We don't
once
think,
again, Jane, we think is probably gonna be still tied up then, and,
gaining
he's
momentum.
apparently in it for good. And, so we were figuring that Montpelier probably was the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
The most-
Okay. That's helpful.
I'll have to work out some logistics, I just haven't really gotten to work on that, yeah.
All right, thank you. For the Thursday, November 12 meeting, that has to be determined for location, but I think it's probably pretty safe to say that meeting is likely to be in Austin. And I'm not sure that we need to set locations on the other ones at this point. So, do we have any other comment about dates and times and locations for meetings? All right. I'll think we're at the end of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance today. We appreciate it. And this is the shortest meeting we've ever had. Just